You've been feeling tired, not just sleepy, soul tired, the kind of weariness that no amount of rest can fix. You wake up more exhausted than when you went to bed. Your body seems fine. The tests come back normal, but your heart knows something's off. There's a silence in your spirit that's getting louder, and you've tried to ignore it, but it keeps pulling at you. That unexplainable heaviness, that strange weight behind your eyes. It's not just stress. It's not just the season. It might be a message, a sacred signal that heaven has placed in your path. Because when God can't get your attention through peace, He speaks through pressure. This isn't just tiredness. This is a divine whisper, dressed in exhaustion. And no, this video didn't find you by accident. It's a spiritual alarm. It's the voice behind the weariness. And once you hear what you're about to hear, you'll never look at your tiredness the same way again. So if your heart is beating faster right now, it's because your spirit recognizes this call. God is about to show you something holy through your fatigue. Before we dive in, I invite you to do 3 things. Comment, "I trust your timing, God." Because faith is not about feeling strong. It's about trusting even when you're too weak to stand. Like this video, if your spirit is already stirring. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but because there's more prophetic clarity coming your way, and you don't want to miss what heaven is about to say. Let's begin. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't speak in words. It doesn't scream. It doesn't cry. It just settles, quietly, into your chest like fog. You go through the motions. You smile when expected. You answer texts. You show up. But deep down, something inside of you is flickering, like a candle that's burned too long and too low. This isn't burnout from work. It's not because you stayed up too late. It's a weariness that logic can't explain, because this exhaustion has no name. And here's the part no one talks about. You feel guilty for it, ashamed, like somehow you're failing at life. You call yourself lazy. You beat yourself up for not being strong enough. But what if I told you this isn't weakness? What if your exhaustion isn't a malfunction, but a message, a sacred signal designed to stop you, to interrupt the performance, to whisper beneath the noise, "You're running, but not in the direction I sent you." We live in a world that worships hustle. It glorifies productivity. It celebrates the ones who push through, even when they're falling apart. But heaven plays by different rules. God isn't impressed by how far you can go without Him. He's not interested in how much you can carry on your own. Because when your body is functioning, but your soul is collapsing, He steps in, and sometimes that step in feels like a shutdown. You don't even notice it at first. Just slower mornings, more sighs, losing interest in what used to light you up. But that's not failure, that's not sin. That is your soul's emergency broadcast. It's God saying, if you won't stop for rest, I'll let your strength pause itself. Because if He doesn't interrupt you, you'll keep running toward everything but Him. You'll fill your calendar, but forget your calling. You'll please people and forget your purpose. You'll live, but forget to listen. This strange tiredness you feel, it's not laziness. It's not a lack of faith. It's your spirit trying to breathe in a place where it's suffocating. It's divine disconnection, and heaven wants to reconnect. And here's what most people miss: that silence, that emptiness, that heaviness in your chest that no doctor can diagnose. It may be the exact place where God is waiting for you, not in the noise, not in your strength, but in your surrender. You've called it a weakness, but God might be calling it a wake-up. And what happens next could shift everything. So stay right here, because what you'll hear in the next few minutes might reveal why your soul hasn't felt at peace in a very long time. Before the mouth speaks, the soul cries, not in ways the world can hear, but in ways heaven cannot ignore. There is a moment, quiet, invisible, where your spirit begins to sense something that your mind cannot yet explain. A subtle trembling in the atmosphere around your life. You can't describe it, but you feel it like something is coming, something is shifting, and your soul knows before you do. That's why the tiredness arrives early. It's not random. It's not a glitch in your system. It's a signal, divine, strategic, and urgent. You feel off, disconnected, overwhelmed by things that once felt easy. And while people around you say just push through, your spirit is pulling back, not because you're lazy, but because you're being prepared. God never lets a storm come without a warning. But his warnings aren't always thunder. Sometimes they come as whispers in your exhaustion. He lets your soul grow weary, not to punish you, but to protect you, because what's ahead might be heavier than what you're holding now. And if you keep ignoring the signs, you'll collapse under the weight you were never meant to carry. Tiredness then becomes sacred, not a burden, but a barometer. It's how heaven measures the pressure of your atmosphere. And when your soul begins to ache before your life changes, it's God saying, get ready. Something is shifting. Let me rewire your strength before the next chapter begins. And sometimes the transition isn't external, it's internal. You're being called to let go of an old version of yourself, a mindset, a rhythm, a role you've outgrown, but your flesh resists what your spirit already knows. So God lets the energy run out of what no longer serves your purpose. You can't find joy in what used to excite you. You can't feel safe in the places you once found comfort. You can't fake energy anymore, not even with your best smile. That's not depression. That's not dysfunction. That's spiritual transition. It's the soul shedding its old skin before stepping into something sacred. Heaven is never caught off guard. And when God sees something ahead, a storm, a test, a door, he gives your soul an advance notice. And here's the part that will shake you. Many people mistake this exhaustion for failure, but it's actually foreknowledge. Your spirit has already begun walking into a future your body hasn't reached, and your tiredness, it's proof you're on holy ground, somewhere between what was and what's about to be. So don't scroll away, because what your soul is sensing, it's not imaginary. And in the next part of this message, you'll understand why the silence you've been feeling might be hiding a spiritual attack you never saw coming. Not every battle sounds like thunder. Some wars are waged in silence. No visible wounds, no loud enemies, just long days, scattered thoughts, and a deep fatigue that clings to your bones like smoke. This is a silent spiritual battle. It doesn't look like a crisis. It looks like distraction. It looks like scrolling for hours with an empty heart. It looks like conversations where you're present, but not there. It looks like losing your focus in prayer, losing your fire in worship, losing your purpose in a life you prayed for. The enemy doesn't always come with chaos. Sometimes he comes with comfort, with numbing routines, with small compromises, with exhaustion so subtle you don't even realize you're drifting until you wake up one day and can't remember the last time you felt truly alive in the presence of God. That's how spiritual warfare hides, not in explosions, but in erosion. Little by little, your strength is drained, not by battles, but by distractions disguised as peace. And in that stillness, you begin to doubt yourself. You question your purpose. You feel distant from heaven, even though nothing bad seems to be happening. But what if I told you that this invisibility is intentional? Because the most dangerous attacks are the ones you don't even know you're losing. And the enemy loves a tired believer, not because they've fallen, but because they've stopped noticing they're in a fight. But here's the holy twist. God doesn't let this pressure fall on you to break you. He allows you to sense it so you can finally learn how to fight it. This isn't a moment to retreat. It's a divine call to attention. That unease in your spirit, that tension you feel for no reason, it's God waking up the warrior in you. Because when your strength fades, you either collapse or you kneel, and in that kneeling you shift dimensions. You stop fighting with logic and start warring in prayer. This battle was never meant to be visible, because it was never about flesh. It was about your fire. And heaven is not worried, because if you're listening now, it means you haven't lost. You're just being repositioned. So before you scroll away and miss what's next, ask yourself this: if the enemy is fighting this hard to make you feel numb, what is God preparing that's so powerful he's trying to steal your strength? Before you even see it, don't blink, because what's coming next might explain why your rest has been under attack and why your purpose is waking up in the middle of the night. Not every storm is from the enemy. Not every heaviness is an attack. Sometimes God himself is the one who slows you down. You've been running, chasing goals, fulfilling expectations, checking boxes, trying to hold it all together for everyone. But suddenly, you feel it, the breaks, the stillness, the halt. Your energy drops, your motivation vanishes. Your body says, rest, but your schedule screams, go. And yet everything inside of you resists moving forward. This isn't sabotage. This is a divine pause. Because when your spirit starts to burn out, God doesn't send more fuel. He calls you to the fire. You see, sometimes fatigue is sacred. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's an invitation to sit down before you fall down, to breathe before you break, to listen before life gets louder again. We're so used to measuring progress by movement. If we're not producing, we think we're failing. But heaven doesn't operate on hustle. It operates on alignment. And when God sees that you're drifting into self-reliance, when your calendar starts replacing your calling, when your doing starts replacing your being, he intervenes, not with thunder, not with warnings, but with weariness, because exhaustion has a way of getting your attention. It humbles you. It strips away the illusion that you're in control, and it leads you slowly, gently, back to the source. Sometimes God will let everything around you keep moving, but make sure you can't, because he doesn't just want your service. He wants your heart, and he knows you won't sit at his feet if you're always running toward your own plans. This divine tiredness, it's a pause with purpose, a reset from heaven, a whisper that says, "Child, rest. Let me remind you who sustains you." Your identity is not in your productivity. Your worth is not in your speed. And your breakthrough won't come from burnout. It will come from surrender. So don't rush this season. Don't despise the stillness. Because right now, in this quiet place you didn't choose, God is speaking. He's pruning your distractions. He's detoxing your soul. He's breaking the addiction to doing, so he can rebuild your being. And the most powerful part? What feels like a delay is actually a divine preparation, because what's coming will require a version of you that only stillness can shape. Stay with me, because in the next part, we'll go deeper into what to do when your spirit can't take it anymore, and why that may be the moment God has been waiting for all along. There comes a moment that doesn't always look dramatic, but it is sacred. You're still smiling, still showing up, still answering messages, going to work, saying, "I'm fine," with a voice that doesn't sound like your own. But deep down, something inside you has stopped. You're functioning, but you're not alive. You're present, but you're not whole. And your soul, quietly, invisibly, whispers the words it's been holding back for too long. "I can't do this anymore." That's not defeat. That's not failure. That's the threshold of awakening. Because heaven listens differently than people do. God doesn't wait for your collapse to respond. He sees your exhaustion as the altar where transformation begins. You've been holding it together with willpower, pushing through pain, telling yourself to be strong. But God never asked you to survive by yourself. He asked you to trust him, to rest in him, to lean when you're tired, not pretend to be strong. When you're breaking, that no more you're feeling, it's holy. It's a signal. It's God saying, "Finally, now I can step in." Because he doesn't invade what you still think you can manage. He waits until your strategies fail, until your strength gives out, until your plans collapse into surrender. And in that place, that silent, desperate space where you feel like you've hit the wall, he meets you, not with judgment, but with presence. He wraps your soul in a strength not your own. He lifts your head when your hands can't. He breathes life into the dry bones of your purpose. And suddenly, the tiredness becomes a turning point, not because the problem vanished, but because you stopped carrying it alone. He doesn't want you to fake it anymore. He doesn't want your mask. He wants your heart, even when it's bruised, especially when it's bruised. And here's the revelation. God isn't trying to toughen you. He's trying to awaken you, to remind you that his power begins where yours ends, to show you that the end of your rope is the beginning of his miracle. So if you feel like giving up, don't. Because this isn't the end. This is the moment heaven has been waiting for. When your spirit says no more, God says, now we begin. And in the final part of this message, you'll understand exactly what to do to rise from this fatigue, not just restored, but reborn. If you're still listening, it's because your spirit knows. There's a voice beneath this message, and it's not mine. You've been misunderstood, called lazy, called weak, even by yourself. But today, heaven speaks truth over you. You're not broken. You're being called. You're not collapsing. You're being awakened. This tiredness isn't a flaw. It's a divine signal. God has been whispering through your exhaustion. Not to shame you, but to shift you. You've tried everything, but peace didn't come from performance. Rest didn't come from routine. Breakthrough didn't come from effort, and that's the point. You were never meant to carry this alone. This is not the end of you. It's the beginning of him in you, the death of self-sufficiency and the birth of divine strength. That weight you feel, it's where glory wants to settle. That silence inside. It's where heaven speaks the loudest. So close your eyes, just for a moment. Breathe and whisper from the depth of your soul, Lord, I'm tired, but I'm listening. Because sometimes your exhaustion isn't weakness. It's worship. Sometimes your stillness isn't failure. It's faith. And sometimes when your spirit says, I can't go on, God responds, now I will carry you. So now, if this message lit something inside you, if you felt seen, understood, awakened, don't let it fade. Make it a spiritual mark. Go to the comments and declare it with power. I trust your timing, God. Say it like a promise. Say it like a pact. Say it like your tired soul is finally surrendering. And your spirit is rising. And if this word touched you, don't scroll past it. Like it, share it, because someone you love is tired in silence. And this might be the moment heaven breaks through for them too. You were never abandoned. You were being prepared, and now you're ready. Ready to stop surviving and start listening. Ready to stop striving and start surrendering. Because your fatigue wasn't failure. It was the beginning of fire. And what God is igniting in you. Now, we'll never burn out.